Welcome to Feather Paintings with Ken Johnson. So this is a brand new channel. It's actually an offshoot from another channel that I have simply called Ken Johnson. So I've got another split off called Cooking with Ken. And so that'll be in the end of the video, in the end screen, you will see those two channels listed, and I'll also have a link to both of them in the video description. But it came to a point with my main channel that the cooking and the artwork was causing a problem with the algorithm. YouTube and a lot of the other video platforms that I post on, they have an algorithm, and it's based off the mentality that you need to be niche or micro niche focused. And if you do multiple things, that kind of messes things up with your analytics and doesn't allow a channel grow as it should. So I am taking the two things that I really wanted to branch out and be niche specific and made them into two separate channels or side channels. And so this is one of them. Then like I said, I got the cooking and food channel. As as I get videos ready, doing artwork is a lot different than making supper. you know, you have to plan for artwork. You have to have resources. You have to have time. Artwork is deliberate. It is probably one of the most deliberate things that you can do, other than like construction, whatever. In fact, in many ways, art is like construction. It is like some major issue that you're dealing with, that you're, major undertaking, what I'm trying to get at. But so I'll probably only post maybe one, two videos a month on this channel, whereas other channels I may be posting more. And it's not that I care less about this channel, it's just the fact that by nature, my videos will be long because I don't feel that I should do a lot of cuts and limit out what I'm doing, because some people may want to learn how to do this and others they want to see how I'm doing it, and I don't want to cut that out. And so I'm going to run a fine line between making sure that I got proper editing cuts so that it's not way too long, but also not cut too much to where you're missing out on something critical. With that said, until I get everything set up with my main camera and my B-roll cameras and things of that nature, and get everything lined up the way I want it to, I figured that'd be nice to do some director cut videos from where on the Ken Johnson channel, I I'd done some videos, very few feather painting videos, but I did a few. And so I'm just going to do a few little behind the scenes commentary, things of that nature. Uh, and so that's what this is going to be. I'll interrupt only when I think it's important. Coming up is the introduction. And I didn't want to cut this out because it's a very lengthy introduction. Uh, but I think it's important for you to understand where I've come from, because this was in 2023, October 2023, and I was explaining what had happened to then. And I think it's very important, but it was very emotional. I had to stop videoing multiple times because I was breaking down and I was trying to hold it together to do a stupid intro. Uh, but I decided to leave it in this video so that you could see where I'm at. Uh, in a few other videos where I do a director's cut, you'll probably see a similar intro, not as long, but just giving a rundown. Some people said they didn't like the negativity of it all. Uh, I don't see it as negative. Understand that I'm telling you where I came from. I'm out of that. I have moved past that. And just as a good writer writes out of pain and writes about the suffering and uses that suffering and pain, a good artist does the same thing. So when I'm having trouble and I'm pushing through, it's a victory. And please do not see anything that I say that may sound negative about what has transpired in the past as being negative for today. It's not. Today is a different day and time. Yes, I may still have some of the problems. I may never get rid of those problems. But I am painting and I am overcoming. So just keep that in mind as you listen to this intro and try to see it from what I was trying to get to you about, that show, trying to reveal myself in my rawest form so that you can understand how critical and how important this art is. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Ken Johnson, and today I'm going to do something I hadn't done in a long time. I've alluded to it before, but I think I need to go into it more depth. You see, I am an award-winning artist. I don't just paint pictures, I paint pictures on feathers. So if you look at some of my artwork, you'll see that I tend to do a lot of nature scenes. I like animals. And so a lot of people resonate with the soulful practice of reusing feathers that would be discarded and taking those feathers and repurposing them to celebrate creation. And that is something that I try to put in most of my paintings, unless it's something that somebody wants specifically or whatever. But when I'm painting for myself, that is what I do. In 2018, I quit my job with the government. I'd worked for government for over 20 years. I had a master's degree. And realizing that there was no future in it for me. And that I was basically at a dead end. I decided to go out on my own. That was August 2018. December 2018, my father died. He died right before Christmas. My mother had a heart attack just a few months later. And due to complications from her heart surgery, she stayed in a rehabilitation center for a while. So I spent a lot of my time away from what would be my business. I did have some businesses. I did start them. I was doing pretty good. Then, shortly after my mother got out, and just after my businesses started to take off, this idiot rear-ended me. And I spent the next year and a half, 2 years, trying to recover from the wreck. He folded the back of the truck like a taco. During this recovery time, I had some issues. I had a brain injury. One of the things that the injury caused is this fear. It was almost like traumatic disorder, PTSD. Somehow, some way, my brain associated joy for sadness and trauma. I started having episodes where painting became painful. And as such, since really 2019, I haven't painted. The wreck caused me to have eye problems. I now have to wear bifocals to do stuff. I've got readers right now. I'm going to be ordering some bifocals to do my fishing. It's just becoming so difficult. I can't do the things I enjoy. But I thought that's time for me to start painting again. So one of the things I want to do is I want to show you some of the work I've done in the past. And we're going to start off small. So right now I want to show you some of the big pictures I'm known for, the ones I've won artwork for. So I've got stuff of deer. I've got stuff of dolphins. All sorts of various types of paintings that I've done and won awards for, and people have bought. And, you know, these paintings, some of them have sold for like $500 or more. Then I've got my, I decided I wanted to make my art more accessible. Not everybody has hundreds of dollars to buy paintings. And people will buy stuff at Christmas time when they wouldn't buy it at any other time. So on a whim, I started making Christmas ornaments. And my wife, she was amazed at how much detail I still put in these tiny, tiny feathers. And in fact, a lot of people, they appreciated the fact I spent so much time on these little feathers. I sell them for $15 a piece. I haven't gone up on my prices. And that's with, I do $15 shipping. No matter how many you buy, I'll do $15 shipping. And so I'm going to show you right now some of the ones I've got in my inventory. Afterwards, we'll come back and let's do a painting video. I want to show 3 of the more common styles of my artwork that is for the ornaments. And now the ones I have in my inventory are glass. For years and years and years, people wanted me to do plastic ornaments. I don't like plastic ornaments. I never have. You can't clean plastic ornaments. The plastic breaks down, it yellows, it cracks. There's a whole host of issues. I just don't like them. However, people that have children, people that have pets, they want plastic over glass. So this year, I have got a limited inventory of plastic balls that are ornament balls. In the past, the glass was cheaper, it was better, and so I used it. I'm able to get a certain quantity at an affordable price of the plastic. I was losing sales 4 to 1 because I would not come off the not doing plastic ornaments. So this year I'm going to do plastic ornaments because people want them. It is not the best choice for the artwork, but if your life requires plastic ornaments, okay, that's fine. It actually will make my life easier for shipping, but glass is best. But with that, let's take a look at them. This right here is probably one of my most popular designs. It is a cardinal. It's hard to see with the light, so let's turn the light off. Oh, now you can see some designs in here. It's just really hard to get this on the camera, and the reason why is that cardinal is about the size of my thumbnail. So that kind of lets you know what we're dealing with here. This right here is another very popular design. It is an emperor penguin. And you can look and see the detail. Again, this is very small, all glass ornament. This right here is a no one some people like. I'll sometimes put raffia in behind it. This one probably needs some raffia behind it. But it's a boot with some, it's a cowboy boot with some little Christmas lights on it. People seem to like them, so I've made a ton of these. And here's a look at one with the raffia behind it. You can see that right there. Oops, trying to get where you can see it better. Pardon the hands. But yeah, there's the raffia you can see there. This is probably my second most popular design. A ton of people buy this, and I'll put raffia. This is some moss I put in there as well. People love these ornaments, and so I've made hundreds upon hundreds of them, but this is one of the designs. Now this right here may not mean a lot to people that are not from Northwest Florida, but this is the iconic beach ball at Pensacola Beach, and so a lot of people around Northwest Florida know this symbol, and they decided they wanted to buy a bunch of them. So for a time I was making a bunch of them. This is the only one I think that I have left. This right here is a dolphin, and pardon the fingers, trying to get where you can see it because these things don't want to hold still. But there it is, swimming up. Again, you can look at my thumb for reference. So this dolphin is about 2 times the size of my thumb. And I've just took some moss and painted the, or actually lichen, and painted the lichen to make it look like coral. So there you go there. Alright, so this right here is a redfish fin. So when redfish are feeding in the shallows, the tail fin will stick out sometimes. And so you get that kind of shark look with the redfish. I'm going to turn off the light. Try to zoom in a little bit, and there's that iconic eye dot in the back that you get sometimes. This right here is a owl. I get a ton of requests for owls. I do hoot owls, screech owls, all sorts of owls. But people love them, so I do them. I don't get a lot of these because a lot of the people in my area, we don't have snow. I'm going to turn off the light real quick so you can see some of the detail. But look at that. That's a lamp post in a snowstorm. It's hard to, I mean, you gotta think this thing again is probably about 2 of my finger or thumbnail lengths, or widths of my thumbnail. So I love these. Let me show you another one, just a little different, not much different. This right here is just a little lighter, brighter background for it so you can see the lamppost a little bit better. I just love the design myself, but you know, if you're not from an area that snows a lot, you know, this wouldn't really call out to you, but areas where it does snow, I think you would appreciate this. This is a fun little one. My friends call me Sasquatch, so I decided to do a Sasquatch one. No one ever talks about Bigfoot at Christmas, yet he never complains. Yeah, sorry, that's a bad joke, but yeah, this is a abominable snowman or yeti, and it's hard to see, but he's got a little bell on his hat. You can actually, if you zoom in, you can kind of see the bell thing right there. So this is like super detailed. Even though it's comical, I do put a lot of detail in my paintings. Even the comical ones, I'll put a good amount of detail for the size that it is. Alrighty, and then we've got this little octopus here hanging the mistletoe, some lights. I get a lot of requests for jellyfish and octopus based paintings. So owls, ospreys, eagles, turtles, these are things that I get a lot requested of me, so I did this little comical octopus type of character for Christmas. I've sold a few of these. Just a funny little character. I thought he was cute. Now that was a long intro, but that kind of gives you a good idea of kind of the ornaments that I've done, and what I kind of do with the ornament size of it, also where I came from in my artist journey to where I'm at now. I've got some other paintings that are a little bit bigger that I've done on my main channel, Ken Johnson. There will be a lot more coming, and so I've got some fantastic paintings that will be coming, but I wanted to show you that part right there. We'll continue on with the video, and then as I said before, if I need to step in I will, but this is a very long video, so I'll try to stay as silent as is possible and only jump in when it's absolutely necessary. At the risk of looking overly simplistic, I just use the student artist acrylics from Hobby Lobby. This is their Master's Touch line. I have found that the small acrylics that they produce, not the big tubes seem to be a different type of paint. I don't know why, but they just don't perform as well. But the small tubes seem to have more of the acrylic and more of the pigment in them. So therefore, I like these better. And so what I've got is just a little keychain pair of scissors that I got from a local hardware store. And then I use a paper plate, And then I've got a solo cup of water, and then you'll see my brushes that I use. Alrighty, so this is my colors. I've got some titanium white. Now this is a little bit more liquidy. That's because I use some Simply Basic white. This is stuff you get from Walmart. You can see the difference here. It is just real liquidy. But I'm going to use that kind of thin down my paints too. So when you're painting a feather, you need more white to mix with your colors to make them the color that they need to be. This right here is Lake Blue. Then I'm going to use that for a lot of my background, so that's going to make my sky blue, because winter scenes tend to be a little bit darker skies. From there we got a crimson, then we got a scarlet, vermilion, lemon yellow, permanent black, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, grass green, and then a light green. So these are my colors. I'm going to put a dab of water on these because as I'm painting, these tend to dry out quicker than the cheaper paints do. I just wanted to step in here because when I was a child, all right, so back when the dinosaurs roamed free, you could buy this stuff to add to your acrylic paints. You had two fluids that you could buy. One was the actual clear acrylic medium, and you could just put that in there and that would extend your paint without really watering it down. And the other was a extender. So you could buy this extender fluid and it would reduce the dry time considerably without compromising your acrylic paints. Every time you add water to acrylic paints, the more water you add, the more you can damage the overall durability of the paint. And that's the problem with acrylic paints. The white from Walmart is super cheap paint. It is garbage paint. And I've said it numerous times, and I'll probably say it even more later on in other videos, if not this video, that with paint, especially acrylic paint, the way that you can tell if it's quality is the amount of pigment that it has, and also the amount of the acrylic medium that it has. And so with most of the whites that you get, they sacrifice both the acrylic medium and they also sacrifice pigment. So you have a big giant tube of white and it dries and you read newspaper through it. That's what I'm dealing with. And same thing with the Master's Touch, what I was talking earlier about that, you know, the big tubes, different paint than what you get in those small tubes. And so I will only buy the small tubes of the Master's Touch. Hobby Lobby talks about that they're Christian. I thought Christian meant, you know, a certain standard, certain quality. If you're going to use that as your religion, that means that you should be true all the time, no matter what size product you're putting out. But that is not the case with them. That they cheat you when you get to the bigger size tubes. It is not the same paint. And those small tubes, they have way more pigment. They have way more of that acrylic medium. And because you cannot find the items that you need to, either the clear acrylic medium or the extender, you can't find it at Walmart. I have not been able to find it at Michael's. It's hard to find it anywhere. So therefore, you got to use water. And when you use water, not only does it deteriorate the overall quality and durability of your paint, but another thing that does is it changes the drying time. And so as you add water, the drying time of your paint will actually diminish to a point that it dries up way faster than beforehand. So just be aware of that it's not like an oil paint. Now it's time we actually measure our feathers and kind of get an idea. I want to kind of see where it goes from here. I'm thinking right there is good for now. So this is good if you got feathers that are kind of broken, not the most perfect in the world. It's a way of reusing feathers that may not be better or good for a bigger project. They might be too small, whatever. So there we go. This is still a little bit too big, but I'd rather be too big than too small. So the whole reason why I said I'd rather be too big than too small is very simple. If it's too small, what will happen is when you put the feather into the ornament, it'll just spin around and you'll have no control. You won't have any way of positioning the feather effectively and composing the rest of your ornament. When you're dealing with a brand new brush, you're going to have instances where you know, they're a little stiff. The reason why is it's got gelatin on it. And if you'll just soak that in some water, that will fix that problem for you right away. Now, what I'm going to do is mix a little bit of the white here. Get my brush, get a good thing of white, dip it into the blue, and you want to go just a little bit lighter than what you think you need. The paint's going to dry darker, and so the feather is also dark. And so what we'll do is just, pardon that, what we'll do is just kind of get a good base coating here. I normally don't paint like this. I hold the feather up and paint it. That way I can adjust for my eyesight and things of that nature. People, you know, they think that I paint on an easel or whatever. No, I don't. I actually hold my feathers and paint them. And so that's actually what I'm going to do off camera. I do want to also show you why I don't like to use the table lay stuff on. It goes through the veins of the feathers. I don't know if you can see that, but that's paint seeping through right there. I just don't like it. So therefore, that's the reason why I like to just kind of hold the feather and paint it the way that I do. People always are amazed by that. They don't understand why I do it, but these are very fragile, very delicate things, and most people don't know how to operate a paintbrush. Bob Ross said it best. It's 3 hairs and some air. You're not drawing or pressing. You're just lightly caressing the feather with the brush. That's all you want to do. You're just taking a minimum amount of paint and putting on there. Very thin layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry. After we let this dry, we'll come back. While we're letting that one dry, I thought what I'd do is go ahead, dip my brush in a little bit of red and get me some blue going and a little bit of white. Making a purple, in case you're wondering. I think I'm going to let that be kind of purple here. I like that. I want it to be kind of dark. Not really. I'm doing a night scene. I don't want to do black. Sky really isn't that black a lot of times. It is because you've got ambient light coming in from the moon and from other things, and you'll see here that this scene right here, it's more fitting because there would be a lot of light at night because of what this depicts. So just going in, getting my blues, getting my reds. I'm keeping it as dark as I can, but still got that kind of lighted scene. Go back into my crimson a little bit. So I'm using dark, deep colors. Oh yeah, that's pretty purple right there. So and just painting this down. So doing 3 paintings today. Give you a 3-for-1 deal on this one. And then if you like these, we can do some more. I think that's good right there for that one. Now the next one we're going to do in a more darker color. So I'm going to rinse out my brush. It's okay if I get it a little bit dirty because this is all background colors. I really don't worry too much about my water being that dirty. Unless I've got something really, really white I'm trying to do. Most colors I'm just not that concerned with getting them muddied up. I'm taking a little bit of permanent black and some burnt sienna and mixing that up. It's already got a black background, or kind of an iridescent background, but I want to make sure it's nice and dark. Most people won't see it, but the dark helps you see lights better. It's like life. You know, I was talking about my wreck. And yeah, I'm angry over it. Who wouldn't be angry over it? It isn't fair. But life isn't fair. You know, anybody says life is fair, don't believe them. I wanted to stop here and have you go back and look at that where I was painting that last feather. I want you to notice something. It is resisting the paint. The paint is very thin, and that feather is actually resisting the paint. So you see me painting over and over and over and over again, and I was trying not to say anything on camera about it, but I think it's important for you to notice that different feathers from different types of birds, sometimes different sections of birds, will behave differently. And so based off of where the feather is located, the bird that the feather came from, the type of bird it came from, sometimes the gender of the bird will matter. And also another thing is what time of year was the feather taken. All this will go into different accounts of how the feather will behave. Now there's things that I can do to mitigate some of that. So I should have probably went with a thicker paint, or I should have gone with something like a gesso or something like that. A lot of times you never know until you actually get into it and you're like, okay, what do I do? Well, you're going to see what I do in a minute, which normally is what you should always do. Move forward. All right, so there we go on that one. I'm going to let these set and dry. We'll move on to the next. All right, this right here is a double alt brush. I'm going to add just a little bit of white and grab some burnt sienna, mix that up. Again, you just need a little bit of white because there's no white shining through. Most of the paints that are created in the market are meant for a white background. And because you don't have a white background here, you got to worry about stuff. And don't worry about right now. You can see there's all kind of little lines and stuff. Don't worry about it. We're just painting here. We're not doing anything serious. We're just having some fun. So if it's not the way you like it, guess what? It's okay. You can always change it. Alright, now get that. Get some more white in here. Okay. Now, this is where we have fun. We'll get a little bit of the burnt, or the yellow ochre, not burnt ochre, yellow ochre, and mix it in with that white and a little bit of that black. Now, what we're going to do, actually I want a little bit more black than that, because you need that dark. Don't lose the dark. A lot of people, they want their paintings to be so bright, and I guess it's because people have an innate hatred of darkness, but you need the darkness. So use the darkness where you can. I may actually go straight black. I don't really, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to add it in a little bit more. Don't want it too dark, because I'm going to have some areas that's like really dark, and I want that to be a focal point. So I'm not, that's the other thing. Think ahead of what you're going to be painting. You know, I realized I've got something really black in here that I'm doing, so I don't want that dark. Alright, now rinse out the brush. It's okay, that's got a little bit of that paint on there, residual muddiness. It's fine, it's not enough to make a difference. Now I've taken white. Now we're going, this is just to kind of emulate bark. A lot of times people try to worry about so much detail, but you don't need to worry about detail. Just give impressions. I'm just making little strokes and just lightly touching right there and right there. There. Now, see, that's going to eventually look like tree limbs. Don't look like it now, but trust me, it will. I went back into the white. Now I'm going into some of the grass green. I love grass green. It is one of my favorite colors to work with. It is so nice. It's so vibrant. And so now what I'm doing is I'm just, actually I've got some white mixed in, but I'm going to go straight grass green. You'll see why in a minute. Oh yeah. That's good. Now we're doing basically pine needles. Because what says Christmas like pine needles and conifers and things of that nature. Now we'll go back into the white. So what happened was I had to correct. I had to use my darker color first as my base, and then go back over with my light. See, now I've got layers of color coming in, and if you will thin out your paint as these paints dry, if you have a thinner paint will go on top of a thicker paint. And so a lot of times people are amazed, well, you just painted over something wet and it didn't smear. Well, first of all, I'm using a very, very, very light touch. I'm barely caressing these. And I've got my paint so thin that it's like ink. And so now I might have 2 or 3 hairs is all that I'm actually painting with. And there was a art festival I was at, and there was another feather painting artist, which is very rare to find. And this feather painting artist, she was talking about she does all these different brushes and she modifies her brushes, and she was doing her spiel, and whatever. And so some people came up, my wife is normally very nice and polite, and they were talking about it. They asked my wife what all I do special, and she said he just paints because he's a freaking artist and that's what he does. I thought it was kind of funny. I told her, I said, that's really not good to do in front of people, but I appreciate the sentiment that. I just want to step in and talk about this one for a second. So there was a lot going on with that event. I just got in that wreck. I was still using a cane, and I was dealing with that PTSD-like condition. Just painting would cause me to have breakdowns. It was a time of great suffering, and we had just came back from our 10th year wedding anniversary trip. We had just came back from Mexico. All the doctors said, you're not in a state to go on a cruise. Do not go on a cruise. You're going to be sorry. Don't do it. I went ahead and did it, and it was very difficult getting to this festival. So we got off the cruise. I had to drive all the way back to Milton from New Orleans. That's like 6 hours, in case you don't know, roughly about a 6-hour trip. Drive 6 hours back to Milton, and then get everything set up so I could be at that art festival. And so my wife was going through a lot. She's dealing with me. She's trying to help me get set up. She had to help me set up. I couldn't set up tent. I couldn't lift a lot of things. And so she had a lot invested in this event, mentally, emotionally, physically. And this artist, in these shows, a lot of, if you're ever going to sell art, a lot of the sale is showmanship just as it is talent. And so different artists will have different things that they do. For me, I'm not one that gets into a lot of showmanship. I believe that if something is genuine, it should have value that is self-apparent. And so what I do is I just paint. I let you see what I'm doing. And that should be enough. And if you want to ask questions, I'll answer any questions you ever have. But that's it. I'm not into the showmanship that a lot of other artists do. Some artists, they will put little elements of humans in it. So, like for instance, they'll put trails in the sky, right? Because where a jet went through, uh, there, okay, got a trail. That's sign of humans, and that increases the sellability of a painting. You wouldn't think it would, but it does. Uh, Little footsteps, any sorts of things. A boat that's been abandoned. I've done those before. Anything of that nature that will sell paintings a lot of times. And when you're dealing with crowds, it's not just what you put in your artwork, but it's also how you sell your artwork to people. And so a lot of time the artists will come up with a bunch of different stuff. Now this artist, she had frames that she made out of spiny lobster traps that were no longer usable. So it actually had the tag of the spiny lobster trap on it. She had some neat stuff. She would throw in some porcupine quills and things of that nature to make the painting sellable. And then she had a spiel where she was talking about that she would cut the brushes and she would do this and do that. Okay, if you want to cut brushes and trim and everything else to get an effect, fine. Uh, what was funny is that I'd never met this woman before, and she was in a totally different area of the festival, and I couldn't get to just break away. Plus, I was on a cane, so it's hard for me to walk. And this finally one day, this woman pops up at my tent. I didn't know it was the artist, and she pretty much was dog cussing my artwork. I got so angry after she left. I said, I just got to see what her artwork looks like. And so I had somebody that they watched my tent for me, and I hobbled over to her tent. She was not there. She was away, which probably was a good thing. I was being a little petty, I'll admit it. And then I looked at her artwork, and it was what I consider to be crap. I mean, I was doing better artwork than she was, but I mean, art is what people are willing to pay for, what people see value in. Just because I think a painting is a piece of crap doesn't mean it's crap. It's just an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. And so once I realized what she was putting out, I walked away happy. I was done. I didn't need to talk to her. I didn't want to talk to her anymore. Whatever resentment and bitterment that she had towards me, to feel a need to come dog cuss my art and dog cuss me as being subpar. Uh, when I saw what she was putting out, her best, it didn't pass my muster. It didn't. It wasn't my par. It wasn't what I see as normal. And I was like, okay, I you know, sometimes you just have to look at what people put out versus what they say. And I was like, I'm putting out better stuff. So I just walked away, and I was good. I had to do a wedding. So there was one day of this festival that I had promised a young girl that I've known her most of her life, and she was getting married, and she wanted me to do her marriage ceremony. And so I I lent my booth space. I took everything down. There was a girl that was special needs that wanted to showcase some art. And so I told her, said, you can have my space for a day. She was so tickled. She got to show her art. And next day I put up my tent, put up all my artwork. It was a chore, but we got it done. And she came up to me. I forgot that there was this big banquet and party event that they had, award show type deal. And she said, did you hear? I was like, what? She said, you won. And so they actually had medals that they gave out, checks that they gave out, and I won. And in this area, it's a very prestigious award. I wasn't trying to get an award. I was just doing my thing. And then the girl told me, said, that woman, she got nothing. So by the end of the show, I think everybody was disliking that feather painting artist, uh, which I didn't want that. I wanted there to be camaraderie. It was her hateful tone that everybody else saw because I was not saying anything bad against her. Um, I think that you can have, if you do watercolor artists or do watercolor art, you should not hold animosity to other watercolor artists. And nothing else, you should be swapping tips and tricks because you know that medium like they know that medium, and you can talk as two professionals. And I wish we had had that, but that I just want to put that little story in there, give some context, because that's something that just ended up on the editing room floor. It was already a long video, but I just wanted to share that little bit. She has been my biggest supporter. I'm so blessed to have her in my life. I just took a little bit of that lemon yellow, and I may need to do some more lemon yellow and more white. So don't be afraid to say, okay, I messed up. It's all right. You know, a lot of things in life can be avoided if we would just own up to, you know, I made a mistake. Let's fix it. It's almost like it's a sin nowadays for people to make mistakes. It's called being human. We make mistakes all the time. Own up to it. Accountability. That's all that's needed in life. A little bit of accountability. Oh yeah. Again, I'm just doing little impressions. Not a lot. Don't want a lot. This one. Oops. Well, I'll come back and get that one. Alright, so there we go there. Nothing big. This is just some impressions that you're trying to do. I did say I was going to come back on that one. So let me do that real quick. Just kind of come through here. Oops. You can overdo it, so I'm not going to overdo it. This is all background stuff. Sometimes you just gotta tell yourself, quit. So that's what I'm doing. I'm quitting. It's by far one of my more favorite ones to do. Just because they're so freaking simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this with a little bit of blue, this white, and I've kind of got the area I want. I'm just mixing the blue in because there is a background to light. You know, light with no background is, what is it? So you're going to have some clouds, you're going to have something getting the light. And so what I'm doing is I'm coming in here and adding some radiant light background. So I'm doing a cool color because it's night, and then it will be brighter because I added the background. Alright, so I think that's good there. I'm going to switch over because I have a special brush that I like to use for this. This right here is a brush that's used for manicuring or for doing artwork on. Okay. So this is a brush used by nail artists for fingernails. They call it a paint pen, and it's just, I like it. It's just super thin, and that allows me to do what I need to do, which in this case is draw some very intricate lines. Doesn't have to be that intricate, but the more you can do, the better. And so basically what I'm doing is I am making a star. And because I have that blue behind it on that dark background, it just kind of makes it look a little bit more radiant. So there we go. Alright, so that's a star, or what I'm calling a star. Again, we're only dealing with impressions. I love doing these because they're so simple, but we're doing a crease. Actually, creases are kind of marketing. Most research says that Yeshua, which is Jesus' real name, Jesus is not his name, but Yeshua, he was born not in some type of barn, but a cave. And that's where the manger would have been. But because Europeans have no understanding of that culture, a lot of people just saw it as being a barn or something like that, or some type of outbuilding. Now, but yeah, it was actually a cave. But you can't paint a cave. Well, I guess you could, but it just isn't as symbolic as what we know of. So even though this isn't true historically, religiously, anything of that nature, for marketing purposes, it's identifiable, and so that's the reason why I'm painting it. Now I'm going to do a little X right there. And that's the baby. Again, now we're just doing impressions. That's it. Just doing Mary and Joseph. And their baby. Nothing, just simple. Easy. So that's the creche. That one is done. Simple, simple, simple. Look how little bit of time that took. Okay. Now this one's another simple one. I like these. Not just cause they sell. I mean, yeah, they sell and I like that, but I just think they're neat. I like that. I just, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't paint it. You got to like what you're doing. And so when if I was at a show or something, somebody wanted to see me do something real quick, I could bang these out, and when I have more time, I do one like the cardinal one that we're going to be doing soon. And so, but sometimes I would actually do this part with a bigger paintbrush, because this is actually too small for this part. You can do it with a bigger brush. I like to use the biggest brush I can get away with. But because I'm trying to show me doing this, I just said, well, I'll go ahead and do this right now since I had the brush in my hand, and this is the brush I had, I'm using it. But typically I like to use a bigger brush when I'm doing the deer part. I'm gonna go into some water because I'm gonna need some thinner white for the horns. I know they're antlers, but we call them horns here. Okay, so that's the deer so far. We'll let him dry. We'll go on to the cardinal. Now we got the cardinal. I'm going to go with a bigger paintbrush. I'm going back to my double alt. say 00, double alt. Alt's just another word for zero. It's just old timey saying. So what I'm doing, thinking he's gonna come right in there. There we go there. Okay. Now I'm going to go into my vermilion. This is where we get some of the go. I'm gonna get, the reason why I don't like to use a lot of white is because you can get pink very quickly. You don't want that. You don't want pink. It's not a pink bird. It is a very vibrant red, but you can come back and hit it with some lighter stuff. You just got to be very, very careful how much white you actually use on this. And okay. Okay. Now, where people have an issue is they don't embrace black. There's a little area right here that and then my paint is actually too wet. So I'm going to use that right now to do some stuff that I need to do. And I'll come back but this will actually make things better. We're going to let this dry for a second. Okay, so now go back in here. Oh, crud. Give me a quick little... So what happens sometimes is that the ferrule will hold water, and you'll get a drip of water that you wasn't expecting to come come out of nowhere. And if you're doing something small like I am, it might make a big mess. So what what I've done now is I've gone to having either a piece of torn paper towel to blot stuff up, or even pieces of cotton ball, just something dry that quickly wicks it up. Uh, so I highly recommend having some paper towels or Q-tips or uh, cotton balls or something that will be very wicking and is very dry so that it can suck up that moisture very quickly. I'll also take my brushes now and I'll make sure that I pat them dry on a paper towel. But even then, you're dealing with a lot of water, doing water changes all the time, or not really water changes, but washing out your brush. It's going to happen. You can't get rid of all the water and everything else unless you dry out your brushes, you wait days, whatever. Ain't gonna happen. You're gonna get a mishap from time to time, and the more you're doing, and the more like that cardinal. I have set some nights and painted till like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. I had somebody that they ordered an entire Christmas tree full of decorations, all the same motif. I've had people order a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen ornaments that were all the same type. I remember sitting one night and painting nothing but cardinals over and over and over and over. And when I finally got done with them, person that was purchasing it, they's like, what I love is that each one of them has a different face. That they have a different expression. Some are angry, some are happy, some you can almost sense the emotions on the birds. People want to see what they want to see into the art. Each one of them is going to be different. And when you're dealing with that kind of amount that this would be days on end that I'd be painting ornaments, hundreds, if not thousands of ornaments in one season, not over the course of my life, one season, just a matter of less than 3 months, painting that much. Yeah, you're going to have mishaps. So have you something to blot it up. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So what we're going to do is come back with some highlights. Take, ooh, that's a nice sparkler. Don't go too much. Now, come from the tail. Over a little bit more. There we go there. Now little dot for an eye, and then this right here for the beak. Now come back in, because I got a little bit of orange on that beak. Not much. It's not much. It's just a hair. But it's enough. So you just kind of come in here. There's that. I'm going to come in with a little bit of a line here. There we go. I'll call that good. You can overdo it. This. Kind of want to do a bunch of greenery. So I'm doing my grass green first. Again, save that dark, so I'm not actually mixing this with white. I know I said that you normally mix it with white, but see how there's white on the background, that deer? I am letting that show through, and then the rest go into the darkness. So that's actually going to work as my shadow. And then as it dries, I've got other colors that's going to be on top, And then that will actually make it look more full. So all this dark stuff that you think won't pay or won't matter much, it will in the end. Even though it don't look so now, it will play a part because it'll show up a little bit. The eyes will pick it up, the brain will pick it up, and it'll just look more natural, and everybody be like, I don't know why that looks so real. It's playing tricks with your mind. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white, a little bit of water. Oh yeah, that makes a very bright green. Now, okay. Doesn't have to be a lot, but I find that the more greenery I have, the more it kind of sets off the next color. That's cause of color theory. You have a thing called complementary colors. It is basically where colors tend to resonate differently with each other. So if you look on the color wheel, red and green are across from each other. You have other colors that they're opposite of each other as well. So like orange and blue. And that makes the eyes kind of vibrate a little bit. And so by having a lot of green, then that shows up the reds better. And so I'm going to go right here and get some water. So I want to talk a little bit about complementary colors and color theory for just a second. As I said before, on the color wheel, when you got primary, secondary, and then you got complementary colors. Primary colors are going to be red, yellow, and blue. So if if you're doing a color wheel, you space them out apart from each other equally. All right. And then in between those colors, you got orange, you got green, you got purple. All right. So those are your secondary colors because it took two colors to make them. So they are secondary. Uh, that's like red and yellow. You know, you put the orange between red and yellow because that's where what you use those two colors. That's how you get the color wheel. And it's amazing the amount of color wheels that are out there that are not true color wheels. A true color wheel has those colors arranged that way. And when you have them all equally spaced from each other in a circle, red will be right across from green, orange will be right across from blue, and yellow will be right across from purple. All right. As I said before, those colors will make the eyes vibrate. That's the reason why we use red and green at Christmas time. It makes the eyes vibrate and it draws attention. Uh, it's also a reason why a lot of college teams will use certain color combinations. Think of Auburn University or Florida University or University of Florida. All right, those two use blue and orange. Those colors make the eyes vibrate. All right. Then you got colleges like LSU that purple and yellow. Again, it's done for a reason. Makes the eyes vibrate. If you want to make, if you don't want to use black, and you want to take a color down a notch, mix it with its complementary color. So if a red is too red and you need it to go down some, add some green. Same thing with blue or orange or any other color. This is also where brown comes from. The reason why there's different browns is because different browns are made by mixing different primary and complementary colors together, or different complementary colors together. So depending on which primary color and secondary color make up the complementary color, you'll get a different type of brown. And so you'll get a very different brown mixing orange and blue than you do purple and yellow. And it's important to understand that. It's kind of like there's a writer that I know that she was doing a Halloween event. She's actually she works in a crime lab for the police. And she was talking about that the blood just wasn't working. It wasn't the right color. But she was an artist. I was like, if you mix just a little bit of green dye with that red, it will make it look like blood. You just mute it down a little bit. So that's what you can do. A lot of people, they're like, how do you understand these colors? Well, there's a law, there's a rule, there's an order. Everybody wants to break the rules when it comes to creativity, but you have to understand the rules first before you know which ones to break. And so understanding how to use complementary colors, when to use them, where to use them, what to what extent to use them, why you use them. Those are important features so that you can then go from there and do different things. In this case, I want to make the next application shine, so I need a lot of green because I'm going to be putting a little bit of red on there, and I want those elements of red to be the focal point to make this festive scene with the deer. And that's what I'm trying to do there, and that's the reason why I was talking about complementary colors so much. Get some red. Actually, it's crimson that I'm doing right now. Thinning out my crimson, because remember, a thin paint sticks to a thicker paint. This crimson's been sitting now this whole painting cycle. So now we're just going to do that. need some dark. So yeah, right now it's not going to make sense because I'm just doing dots. But once I get all these paints going and then I add the highlights, it'll make sense. But for right now it's not. It's just a bunch of dots and they're dark and you can hardly see them, and that's fine. Oh crap. Let's get that off. There we go. Always good to have something to blot with. I'll take, that's too wet. There we go. Can't have it too wet. No, I want that. So, boom, 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 boom. Don't have to be well defined, because we'll come back and brighten that up in a minute. Alright, now I'm going to go to a different color. And so now there's a bright color. Bright. There's a dab. There's a dab. See how having those different colors, it kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. Doesn't have to be much. Right here, not much. But now we got something that looks a little bit more akin to a festive deer. Probably going to strengthen that one antler that's bothering me. Okay. Okay. You know what? I like that. We're going to call that good. Now we'll let these dry, and then I will put these into the ornaments. I'll show you that. That's pretty much it. Super, super simple. Now I can always do a bigger painting, so if y'all like that, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to do one. I think it'd be kind of neat. I'd love to do one. Alright, so I'm going to let these dry. This right here is raffia. So what we're going to do is fill one of these ornaments with some pieces cut up raffia. Raffia is just basically pieces of palm leaf. And they use it for binding and stuff and crafts. But it kind of looks like straw, so that's what I use it for. It's kind of mimicked straw and stuff. Now I just kind of put it in here kind of haphazardly. And if it, for some reason, it's not going in like you ought to, you can just take a pen or one of your paint brushes, whatever, and just kind of finagle it in like you want it. So I'm not really that concerned right now. Okay, so there we go. This is a little piece out of a nut cracking set for digging nut meats out. That's what I'm using here. So now we're going to trim the feather. I'm going to do the crease first. So we're going to trim this feather to meet that. I'm actually going to trim from the bottom a little bit because I want that to kind of go down a little bit. So I'm going to trim that. There we go. Do is take this, fold her up, place her in, place her like we want to. That's about where I want it. Put this right here. There we go. Nice ornament, ready to go. Just for the sake of brevity, I've already went ahead and filled this one up and trimmed the feather. Because, I mean, you know, you already seen how I do it. And there we go there. Now one more, we'll be done. Here we go, last and final one. Alright, so here is our cardinal that we painted. Here is that creche that we did, the nativity scene. And here is the festive holiday deer. Tell me what y'all think. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, you got 3 first, so it ran a little long. There's also an intro that I probably could have edited out, but I thought was too important not to have in this video. But future videos definitely be shorter, more focused. This is just a introductory video, show you some of the artwork I do, bigger pieces. I've got other pieces that I've done on the Ken Johnson site or Ken Johnson channel. As I said before, these paintings, these ornaments, things of that nature, you can buy them. And so I am working right now trying to find a platform that is best for me to sell this. A lot of artists are leaving Etsy. Etsy was the best at one time, and now it's not. Facebook does not allow me to even show videos sometimes. I get flagged by Facebook all the time because they have a community standard against using animal parts. So I can't, they don't even want me to show my artwork on Facebook. YouTube, they have a storefront that I could set up once I reach a certain number of subscribers, but they also take out a large portion. So for the time being, we would have to do something like PayPal. So reach out to me if you're interested. We'll work on something, and we'll get done. But PayPal right now is going to be the best way to buy these ornaments. I was thinking about going up on the price, but I've kept this price now since 2012. Yeah, 2012. I've kept $15 an ornament. Um, I went to a store the other day and they was wanting $20 and $30 for an ornament. I'm gonna keep this year. I'm gonna keep at 15. I don't know when I'm gonna go up. I may go up next year. I may keep at 15. I don't know. But um if you want an ornament, let me know. If you want to see some ornaments, I always do a video showing what I got. I also will be doing some big feather paintings in the future, so that's what this channel is going to be, feather paintings all the time. So I hope you enjoy this art form. Please hit that like, subscribe if you hadn't already, and I will see you again next time. Bye.